What's up, peeps? We're back. As always, I'm your host, Lee Benson. Thank you so much for joining us for our YouTube edition of the AEW Insider. You know, the YouTube channel and the podcast is based mainly on wrestling, but when I do get some extra time, which I really never have a lot of, I like to bring you some special episodes. So a couple months ago, I decided to do a top 40 greatest NES games of all time. Well, guess what, peeps? We're here. This is the final 10, the final countdown, the creme de la creme of the list, the best of the best. You know what I mean? NES holds a special place in my heart. There were systems in homes before that, like ColecoVision, Atari, Pong, what have you, but the NES was definitely the first one to break through that pretty much everybody had in their house, and it actually brought all of your favorite arcade games right to your living room TV. It was mind-blowing as a child. And trust me, some of the games that were out for it are still some of the best to this day, and definitely some of the hardest as we went over before. So if you do want to win a Chris Jericho AEW Series 1 action figure, stick around to the end of the episode to find out how. But anyway, man, without any more further ado, let's get to the final 10 of the list. Number 10, Shatterhand, 1991. In 2030, a former cop named Steve Herman is the only hope to save the world. This was definitely a sleeper hit. I read about it in Nintendo Power one year, and I begged for this in Castlevania III for Christmas. This game was awesome, and so was this power. You got to upgrade his robotic arm, aka fist, and you just went around and you fucked people up. It definitely became a cult classic, and it's so worthy of it. I loved it, and I still do. A fun fact about Shatterhand is that unfortunately I could not find a single fact for this amazing game. If you guys do have any, please comment below. On to number 9, DuckTales, 1989. Scrooge McDuck travels around the world and outer space in search of 5 treasures to further increase his fortune. Now this was another superb and super hard game. I recently bought the Disney 4-pack bundle on the PS4, and it does include this gem. I love this. The supporting characters, the different worlds you could travel to, the game was so good. A fun fact about DuckTales is, thanks to the limited NES palette, Scrooge's frock coat is red, like in the comics, rather than blue as in the cartoon. It was remastered as a throwback to both media and the use of the cartoon color scheme. Number 8, Maniac Mansion, 1987. A meteor crashes into Doc Fred Edison's front yard and takes control over him. When Fred kidnaps Sandy, who is a college teenager, her boyfriend Dave Miller and his friends plan to break into the mansion and save her. Now this game was great, especially the setting for the game. It was this big old creepy mansion with some weird scientists. So you had crazy experiments going on, you had monsters lying around, like it was just fucking nuts. But the best part of the game was the cast of characters you got to pick from to play as. There had to be at least 8 of them. And they all had their special powers. Like, you know, the nerd could do this, the jock could do that. So you would definitely find situations and you would have to go back, switch out a character, bring back the right one to tackle it and accomplish it so you could move on. And the cast of characters ran the gambit of any 80s horror movie or just any 80s movie in general. Like I said, the jock, the nerd, the goth girl, what have you. This game was so fucking good. And a lot of people missed it at first, but this is another one that became a cult classic. And it deserves that title. It deserves to even be bigger than that. A fun fact about Maniac Mansion is, players can microwave the hamster in any of the computer releases, but not the European NES version. They would have to use the sick-minded characters such as Sid or Razor when doing so. Showing the exploded hamster to Weird Ed will make him kill the character. And they did a sequel for the PS4, which I own. It's awesome. Number 7, Tetris, 1989. Tetris is kind of hard to explain, even though the game's so simple. I mean, I really won't even go into it. You know Tetris. If not, go look it up. But everybody had this for their Game Boy and their NES. It has been released so many times in so many different ways. It was made in Russia originally, and from what I heard, don't quote me though, Russia has this crazy rule. Like anything made or created in their country, they actually own it for a certain amount of time. So what happened is the guy made this game in Russia, and we'll say 1982. Well, Russia owned it even though he made it. and Russia received all the money and the royalties for so many years. So imagine inventing this amazing game in 1982, we'll say, and you're not even going to see a dime from it until 2015. All the big money for it has already been made, and it just sucks. You put all this work into it, people made billions and billions of dollars off of it, then you actually get the rights of it when it really isn't even popular anymore. A fun fact about Tetris is the Nintendo incarnations of the game for the NES and the Game Boy were the biggest sellers and generally considered the classic versions of the game. I do agree with that. It definitely is a classic version. That's the best one because people have tried to tinker with it and re-release it, and they never compare to the original. But that's what I just said right there. It was the biggest sellers for both of those systems and a lot of other systems. And the man who created himself didn't see a dime for it until like 15 or 20 years after Russia was done taking their cut. On to number 6, Blaster Master, 1988. Jason follows his pet frog Fred down a hole in the earth, where he finds a tank and uses it to battle radioactive mutants. Another great game. I still love this game today, and I actually have it. I love playing it. You could ride around in your tank, and you can upgrade it with different powers. You took on big, nasty mutant bosses. The game was just great. I wish they would have gave it a proper remake for the new generation to enjoy. A fun fact about Blaster Master is, a novelization of the game was written as part of the Worlds of Power series published by Scholastic. It was the first book released in that series, all of which were based on popular Nintendo Entertainment System games. Along with several others in the series, the book was attributed to FX9, but the true author was Peter Lagarnas. Number 5, Super Mario Bros. 2, 1988. Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, and Toad enter a mysterious door to save the people of Subcon from the evil Frog Wart and his minions. Now, everybody and their mother loves Super Mario Bros. 3 better than they love 2. Not I. 2 is my favorite. Probably because, like others on the list, they gave you choices. NES games could be bland at times and didn't have a lot of options. When a good game came along and you had options and you could pick who you could play, it just made it so much better. Like they said, you could be Mario, who was an all-around safe character to be. You could be Princess Toadstool, who could actually float in the air for a while, and she helped you float across bigger gaps than other people could jump across. You could be Toad, who was my favorite. He was quick, but he wasn't that strong. And finally, you could be the black sheep of the Mario family, Luigi, who helped prove that white men can jump. Peeps, this is one of the best of all time right here. A fun fact about Super Mario Bros. 2 is, along with King's Quest IV, The Perils of Rosella, this was one of the first video games to have a playable female hero, which was Princess Peach Toadstool. Number 4, Mega Man 2, 1988. Dr. Wily escapes from prison and he plans revenge on Mega Man. Now, my stepfather brought me this game, and at first I thought it was impossible. But it wasn't. It was one of the hardest games, but it's never impossible. By trial and error, you have to figure out which boss to beat in which order. When you beat a boss in Mega Man, you acquire their power. So say there is a fire boss who's just kicking your ass. You want to go first and defeat a wind or water boss, bring their power with you back and fight the fire boss and cut his ass down as quickly as possible. But besides the bosses, the platforming and enemies were hard as hell. Man, I have so many great memories with this game. It's definitely a classic, peeps. If you want a true challenge, pick up a copy of Mega Man 2. Number 3, River City Ransom, 1989. Cindy has been kidnapped by Slick, and it's up to Cindy's boyfriend Ryan and his brother Alex to rescue her. Now, I love this game. I have it and its many sequels and spin-offs downloaded on my PS4. It's the best two-player co-op beat-em-up. Graphic-wise, it's not that great, of course, but the gameplay definitely is. You can stop in at shops and buy power-ups to give you more moves or different items to complete your quests. They made a sequel last year called River City Girls. This game was made by the same people who made Renegade, and all their characters appear in all their games and all the many spin-offs that the company has actually created. A fun fact about River City Ransom is, when you are on the third floor of the school and you fight the Dragon Twins, the background music is the same music from the NES game Double Dragon. Number 2, Little Nemo, the Dream Master, 1990. Nemo journeys to Slumberland to rescue Morpheus, who is the king of Slumberland, from the clutches of the evil Nightmare King. Now, this game caught my eye from the advertisements. A little kid found magical animals. 3, too. It showed a little kid finding magical animals that he can use and their powers to help him finish his quest through these crazy dream worlds. The game is so fucking good. It did not get any sequels, and I don't know why. If you missed this bad boy, it's a must-play, peeps. Little Nemo the Dream Master is a fucking classic. A fun fact about Little Nemo is, released a year after the Japanese release of the movie, the game is based on and 2 years before its release in the United States. In the Japanese version of the game, the gorilla originally had a cigar. Not to anybody's surprise, but Nintendo took that part out prior to its North American release. On to our final honorable mention. Peeps, I was going to put 2. Actually, I wanted to put 20 on here. My honorable mentions on the list is the part where I can actually put all the great games that I just couldn't fit on the list. So, I mean, if I put them all here for the final part, we'd be here until 2023. So I only put 1. And that is Batman, NES 1989. Loosely based on the film Batman from 1989, you play as Batman and fight through multiple levels of enemies and bosses, finishing in a showdown with the Joker in the bell tower of the Gotham Cathedral. This game was another one that was hard as hell, but it was so cool to be the Dark Knight. You had your batarangs, you had your grappling hook, you were going through all these locales in the city. It had great cutscenes for the time for the NES, and the final battle on the clock tower with the Joker was definitely cool. And when you actually beat him and you beat the game, you feel like you really accomplished something, because it was definitely a tough one. A fun fact about Batman for the NES is, the Joker is the only A-list member of Batman's Rogue Gallery to appear, with minor villains from the comics serving only as other bosses and minions. Even then, they don't resemble their comic counterparts, such as KG Beast going from resembling a gimp to looking like a generic ninja, and Killer Moth now wearing power and armor. And also, they did have a sequel. It's called Batman 2 Joker Something for the NES, and it's really, really fucking good. So check them all out, peeps. And finally, my pick for the number 1 game of the greatest 40 NES games of all times is Castlevania III, Dracula's Curse, 1989. In this prequel, Simon Belmont's ancestor, Trevor Belmont, takes up the cause of defeating Dracula with the help of 3 others, including Dracula's old son, Alucard. Also Sophia, who was like a wizard/witch, and Grant, who was like a pirate who could stick and climb to walls. Like I said before, I got this game and Shatterhand for one Christmas, and it's so fucking good. The original Castlevania is epic. Part 2's Simon's Quest left a bad taste in all of our mouths. It was so horrible. It was like a wannabe Zelda 2 Link's Adventure. But Part 3 of Castlevania was a return to the series' roots, and you got to pick between not only 1 but 4 characters, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. This game was definitely a tough one. I remember the pirate ship level and the clock tower level being so fucking hard to get past. But if you are a fan of the Castlevania and you missed this gem, you have to play it. Like now, peeps. A fun fact about Castlevania III Dracula's Curse is, Dracula's third and final form is based on Pazuzu, who is the king of the demons of the wind in Babylonian mythology. Alright peeps, that wraps it up for my top 40 NES games of all times. I hope you liked this special 4-part series. There was a lot to bring it to you, but I love you guys. That's why I do it. I hope you guys liked a lot of these on this list. I hope a lot of these games pissed you off. Some of them brought back memories. Some of them you don't agree with. If you don't, definitely go in the comments below and let me know what you don't agree with, what you loved, and what your favorites are. Because that's what it's about. It's about debating, relating, what have you. This was a really, really hard list to complete. As I was doing it, and you know what I mean, and editing it and just changing stuff, what have you, more games kept popping up. Like I said, in the honorable mention part, if I kept putting them all in, this list would be 20 friggin' parts long, because there's so many great games for the NES. I'm very lucky to still have the system. I still play it to this day. I still got classic for it. I still buy classics for it. So if you can actually get the reproduction of it, it is good, but those games are limited and you can't upgrade them or add on to them. So if you can get one of those cheesy little, you know, whatever versions they're called, the mods or whatever online, I don't know if they're legal or not. I figure they are because the people sell them. They're a great place to start. If not, stop being a cheap fuck. Pony up the money and go buy one, man. Because I'm telling you, this is a centerpiece of any home entertainment system, still to this day. And if you got some people over, gonna have a couple drinks, do whatever you guys want to do, it's always awesome to bust this out, reminisce over old times, and go at it with each other or team up with each other. If you do want to win a Chris Jericho AEW Series 1 Unrivaled Action Figure, first off, you got to be subscribed to this channel. If you're not, do that now. Besides that, pick any video, including this one, like, share, and comment. So subscribe to our YouTube channel at the AEW Insider, pick a video, like, share, and comment, and boom, you're in the running to win a Le Champion Chris Jericho AEW action figure. Remember to show us some love on all major podcasting platforms, also on Facebook and YouTube under the AEW Insider, and on Twitter under the AEW Insider 1, as in the number 1, peeps. As always, I'm your host, Lee Benson. Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of the AEW Insider. Ciao.